This is probably the easiest way to manage your finances, your money. And because it's so easy, you're most likely going to stick with it because it's not complicated. It's not one of those plans where you constantly have to do math and constantly have to stay on top of every single dime. It's something they've been doing for generations, just with a little tweak to make it a bit easier, even easier. So, usually, when we get our paychecks, what do? We pay our bills and then spend what is left over and hope to be disciplined with our spending so we have some left over, right? But that's reactive. If we want to have progress and peace with our money, then we must have a plan for it before it even arrives. A great plan for your money is to follow the save, spend, and grow model. This is a great way to check all the boxes of what your money should be doing both now and the future. Now, it differs just a little bit from what we discussed in the previous video, just a little bit, but you may prefer this compared to what we discussed in the previous video, and I'll break it down. So, the idea here is your income, your monthly income, or your biweekly paycheck or weekly paycheck gets broken down into these three buckets. And these three buckets adds up to your income. That is a way to ensure that your money is doing what it should do. The save bucket is specifically and strictly only for building your safety net, be it long term or short term. So your short term savings for future vacation, a future purchase, or your long term plan of should I lose my job or should there be an emergency and I need money, it all happens here. This is strictly for saving. Your spend bucket is for your life expenses, both your obligation, life expense, and your fun, your living expense. This is all in one bucket. This is part of why it's a little bit more flexible or easier for a lot of us because we're not having to break it down to, all right, this is my obligation, this is my fun money, this is my, some of us don't like that micromanaging. So you have it all in one bucket, and I'll break down how bucket translates in reality. Then your next bucket is your growth bucket. This is where you ensure that your future net worth is higher than your current net worth. Because what you put in here is what you use to achieve your other financial goals. So if you're paying down debt, you're not using the safety net, you're not using your savings bucket for that. That is so that you never have to reach into your credit card. It's not about the amount, it's about making sure funds are going in. So even if you're currently debt heavy and you're trying to pay down your debt, you can put a bigger chunk in this account while you put only $10 in the safety net, right? But the idea here is that over time, consistency and momentum, that $5, that drip, 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 here you go. You have a full bucket of water. You have a, a good size savings account compared to if you were just focused on, I'm paying down my debt, I'm paying down my debt, but then your safety net is empty. And so anything happens, you're back to square one, right? This growth bucket is also where you do, if you wanted to invest more than just your retirement with your employer, this is where you allocate funds for that. Or remember, it's growth. It's not just limited to investment and paying off debt. This is also where you allocate funds to improve yourself, improve your skills, acquire new skills, or get more training. This is where you allocate funds for that. If you need to pay for some classes on Coursera or Khan Academy, do they even have any classes on there? Maybe I'm just mentioning the ones I know of head, right? Or for me, I do YouTube, and so it's in my best interest to get better on YouTube. This is where I would allocate funds for if I have to buy more equipment, or if I need to take classes or pay for courses. This is why I allocate funds for that. Because this bucket is all inclusive of everything improving my life and my future self, it doesn't necessarily mean everything in this bucket gets spent every single month. It means money's coming in here every single month. And then when that money's needed, maybe because all of a sudden I realize energy is going to be a huge commodity because AI is taking, is it a commodity? Whatever. AI is going to use, it needs a lot of energy. And so I would like to invest in a lot more energy ETF, not a financial advisor. I'm just thinking out loud. Do with this information as you may. Then I know, should I want to do that, I'm no longer struggling with, well, how much do I have left over this month that I could put into an ETF? I already have money in this account and I can take out whatever I need. If you're interested in investing more often, this is where you would have money transferred from to whatever platform you use for your investment. Like every other plan, it all sounds good, it all sounds amazing, but how do you actually use it? Because it's one thing to know something and it's another to actually be able to carry it out. The best way to make this work is to have three different accounts for these buckets. On average, we have checking and savings, checking and savings every 3 days. On average, we all have our checking and savings. This just takes it a step further. It tweaks it a little bit by adding the growth bucket so that your savings is not an all in all bucket for money I'm not using right now. And then you need to know how much your cost of living is. Because, like I always say, you could have whatever plan you have, but if you're not working with your factual numbers, your real numbers, you're already not going to succeed at that. So you need to know how much it costs you to live. Then you can figure out how much can go into each bucket. Having different accounts makes it a lot easier to manage because you're not having to go through every single expense to figure out where the money is going. You already know the only thing coming out of this account is my living expenses. Even if you use credit cards like I do for your daily expense and then pay it off with the checking account. If you've allocated 7,000 for your expenses, as long as every single month you haven't gone over that, then you keep it moving. If you want to go back and recount everything, great, but for those of us who don't want to do that when we don't need to, then you're good. But if at the end of the month you're over, then it's time to look at what are we doing wrong. So now you're not analyzing all your entire paycheck. You're only analyzing the spend bucket. And if you feel as though you need to, you're not doing so great with having everything all in one, i.e., your must pay and your fun and your grocery, then you can break it apart. I have a separate credit card for my groceries and a separate credit card for my household expenses. Like the utility and gas and all that. Because for me, groceries is such a I won't say open ended. Grocery is. I hated having to go back all the time to look at where did I spend? So I know whatever I spend on this card is groceries. And so if I go over, I'm going, we need to cut back on groceries. We need to cut back on how much we're spending on groceries. This model takes advantage of the one thing you need to stay on top of your money and to also grow your wealth. That's consistency. As long as money is flowing into these three buckets every single month, you are guaranteed, take that with a grain of salt, you're guaranteed to not only hit your goals, i.e., manage your money every single month, but to also ensure that you are financially better tomorrow than you are today because that growth bucket needs to be doing something. Now, you're not just going to have an account for growth and leave the money there. I guess you could just put the money in a high yield savings account and call it growth. No, put your savings in a high yield savings account. That is FDIC insured, always FDIC insured, unless you just like throwing money away. And then use the growth for growth. Use the growth for growth. If you use the growth as spending, as saving, you're actually cutting yourself short. You're actually stealing from yourself because regardless of how much money that money is making in the savings account, unless it's making 10% more, you're losing money. You want a great way to grow wealth. Unfortunately, it's not just saving. You want that money to go into something tangible. Of course, if you're paying down debt, that is still growth because you are getting rid of liabilities to put yourself on a better financial standing, your future self on a better financial standing, open more room for you to actually do more with your money, or even open more room for you to not stress about money, right? So let me know what you think is not going to work with this model. I think it's a great idea. This is what it's been since back in the day. The only difference here is they added the growth, which is a necessity. But let me know, do you see any kinks here that needs to be worked out? I can't think of anything that doesn't work out. If anything, the only thing I'll change is what I already do is I separate my obligation from my flexible money because for me then I don't have to worry about that at all. Right? It's a different card for that. Right. So let me know in the comment section. But with this way, I don't see how you could go wrong with this model. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.